Howdy Ho, YouTube. Jon-Luke VGC here with wet hair today. Had to shower just right before I started this, so a little slick back. Sorry about that. But today we are doing a slightly different video. We are doing an analysis vid. If you're not aware, Markus hosted a Summit of Champions VGC Winter Invitational just on Sunday. So maybe yesterday. I think that's when it was, or Saturday. I can't quite remember. But it featured only 4 players: Marco Fierro, Wolf Glick, Kinugawa, and Pokey Alex. Only these 4 players were in, and they did a double elimination bracket into finals where it was single elimination. It's really, really interesting. There was some fantastic high-level play, but I think absolutely nothing beats Game 3 of the final set between Marco Fierro and Kinugawa. It is just an absolutely intense, insane battle. And I thought it was a prime example of something to analyze because there's so much in it. And because it's so dense, I'm not going to do the entire set. I will only do game 3. I think it helps if you've seen the first 2 games, so I will include a link to the video in the description below. I highly recommend you go watch all 4 hours of Pokemon play. But if you're like, I just need to do just the first 2 games, we'll do. But I will give you a quick background about kind of what's happened in the event in case you don't know. I'll talk about kind of where we're starting from, and then I will actually analyze the battle. So this is finals of the entire event. It is Kinugawa versus Marco Fierro. This is the second time in the tournament they have played. I believe the first time Kinugawa won 2-0, which was really good for him. And now we are in game 3. Kinugawa lost game 2 because he got a really unlucky double Wild Bolt Storm miss, which otherwise he probably would have won. His team is really, really good into standard balance, and no surprise if you know what Marco likes to play. He is playing standard Bolt balance. So it's been a really, really intense set. This is basically game 5 that they're playing. So the mind games are off the charts. It is insane. Can we take a quick look at their teams? That's what I want to do real fast. So as you can see, I'm skipping. So Kinugawa. So Marco Fierro, let's start with Marco, right? Marco is running pretty much standard balance. We have Terra Fairy, Leftovers, Raging Bolt with Thunderclap, Dragon Pulse, Protect, and Calm Mind. You have Flutter Mane, Terra Grass, Booster Energy with Moonblast, Taunt, Pain Split, and Thunderwave. This might seem odd, but some higher level players have been seeing more Pain Split Flutter because you're seeing less offensive investment, and they're moving more towards basically, I've talked about it a couple times now, but almost max defense, max HP. But you just leave a point out on each so you can put it in speed and get the speed boost with the Booster Energy. That would normally be Icy Wind in the Pain Split spot, but just to get guaranteed KO and get some damage and get some HP back, I totally understand why you would use Pain Split, and then they opt for Thunder Wave as their speed control, which is very frustrating for me. So you have Chen Pao's Sword of Ruin, Terra Grass, not Terra Ghost, with Icicle Crest, Ice Shard, Sacred Sword, and Protect. That is also a more recent meta development. I've also been seeing that on Showdown Ladder a decent amount, so that's something to kind of keep in mind. That's not just a one-off thing with Marco. Rillaboom, Terra Fire with Woodhammer, Grassy Glide, High Horsepower, and Fake Out. Pretty standard set when you don't have ground damage anywhere else on the team. You basically have to run High Horsepower over U-turn on Rillaboom. You have Urshifu, Rapid Strike, Unseen Fist, Terra Steel, Mystic Water with Surging Strikes, Close Combat, Detect, and Aqua Jet. This is something else that we're seeing a decent amount, is bulky Urshifu with the defensive Terra. Not that uncommon. So this is probably I don't know the team, but if I had to take a guess, it's probably 156 adamant investment in attack in order to get the second bump. A decent amount of special defense investment, probably just around 124, because I think if you do that plus a certain amount of HP investment, you can survive a Thunderclap from Raging Bolt without terraing. Mystic Water gives you that additional damage boost on Aqua Jet and Surging Strikes. And then the speed is to determine. Most people are going to hit, because he doesn't have something to knock him down by 1 stage. I actually don't know how fast. It's probably not that fast of an Urshifu, because his speed control is primarily Thunder Wave, so you're outspeeding them 2 times. Their speed's going to get dropped by 2 stages, basically. So normally, if you had Icy Wind, the Urshifu probably hits 138 or around there for the speed stat, because that will outspeed the 205s, or the base 135s, which hit 205 with max investment after an Icy Wind boost, to keep that in your brain if you need a speed stat for Urshifu. And last, you have Incin, Intimidate, Terra Ghost with Flare Blitz Knockoff, Parting Shot, and Fake Out. So super duper standard double Fake Out, Calm Mind, Raging Bolt stuff. The only one in the entire tournament that has brought this kind of team. Very, very like standard, really in line with what Marco plays. Kinugawa, though, has brought something entirely different. So Kinugawa is running Iron Bundle, Cork Drive, Booster Energy with Freeze Dry, Icy Wind, Encore, and Protect. So that he, instead of Flutter Mane, he is using Iron Bundle as his speed control Terra Ghost. You have, again, Terra Water, Mystic Water, Urshifu, Rapid Strike, Unseen Fist, Terra Steel with Surging Strikes, U-Turn, Aqua Jet, and Detect. So no fighting move, and instead opting for a pivot option with U-Turn, which is really, really interesting. Most likely because he doesn't have U-Turn on Rillaboom. You have Sheer Force Landorus, Life Orb, Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, Sandsear Storm, and Protect with Terra Poison. Lando, if you take anything from this, Lando is insanely good right now. It is super duper good into like these balance cop meta stuff because it hits Raging Bolt super effectively both in and out of Terra, which is really, really bad for it. You'll see that Lando is kind of the MVP of Kinugawa's team. We have Incineroar with Shookaberry, which halves the damage of one super effective ground type move. Intimidate with Flare Blitz, Knockoff, Parting Shot, and Fake Out, Terra Water. Some people were curious why not Terra Poison instead, but I think mainly just because then you because you maintain your ground weakness, but then you still get the Shookaberry proc if they go for it. But I don't know. Kinugawa didn't explain it, and he definitely has his reasons. Like, he's a good enough player that I'm going to trust him on it. You have Rillaboom, AV, Grassy Surge with Woodhammer, Grassy Glide, High Horsepower, and Fake Out as well. Very interesting. Normally, if you see Landorus on the team, Rillaboom will host U-Turn instead of High Horsepower because you have ground type damage somewhere else. But maybe Kinugawa thought it was so important that he needed it, and he has U-Turn on Urshifu, so it could be that. Terrifier, super standard set. And kind of the most interesting one, I know there's a Iron Bundle, but Thunderous, Safety Goggles Prankster with Wild Bolt Storm, Eerie Impulse, Thunder Wave, and Taunt. This makes a ton of sense, right? So normally, and it's Terra Steel, normally you would want to run Covert Cloak to stop Fake Out. But you can punish Fake Outs if they go for the Fake Out into Thunderous with Encore on Iron Bundle, which is really, really bad. The main thing that you want here is that Thunderous is your only taunt user. And so it's actually really good because if someone's like, a lot of the times, right, if you're trying to set up Trick Room, they'll opt for like, Trick Room Setter plus Redirection. If that Redirection is a Mungus, you just ignore it. Like, you don't care, and you can stop the Trick Room, and you can't get Spored, which is really, really bad for some of those setters. So that's a really, really smart adaptation into the meta. It's very specific, though. I mean, if you have like Ogerpon with Follow Me or something like that, then it still gets redirected. Eerie Impulse is good to stop special attackers. And then the only thing is that you do have two pretty inaccurate moves in Sandsear Storm and Wild Bolt Storm on the team with no actual rain in order to help solidify that. So that's kind of interesting, but I'm not going to spoil it. We'll talk about it at the end. But yeah, so these are the two teams. Basically, Marco is running what everybody is describing as standard balance and regulation F. And Kinugawa seems to have built something in order to answer standard balance. It's still balanced-esque. I mean, it has Rillaboom and Urshifu and Incin, so we can't say it's not balanced. But you can't say Bundle and Thunderous are like standard balance comp mons, you know what I mean? So that's really, really cool. So this is game 3 of the final set. Kinugawa won game 1 relatively decisively. Kinugawa was on a really good straight game 2, but he got a double Wild Bolt Storm miss. That's the risk you take when you have those kinds of moves, which kind of Marco was still kind of pretty behind, but he was able to capitalize and get himself the win just barely eked out. I think his Chen Bao had like 1 HP left or something like that. Like, it was like the very, very close win. The matchup's really bad for Marco. Like, let's kind of get that out of the way. Obviously, Kinugawa has a team meant to answer standard balance, and Marco is running standard balance. So the fact that he was able to take a game is, I think, incredibly impressive. And considering I think the matchup is pretty atrocious for him. But we're going to watch game 3. It is so interesting. And you're going to hear me talk a lot about mind games. And that's really where we're at. So when you've played 5 games against another person, basically over the course of a couple of hours, you get a sense of how they play. So now we're like really delving into, he's not playing, like Marco and Kinugawa aren't playing their standard lines. They're calling what the other person is going to do, which I think makes it a super, super interesting game. That should be game 2. Here's game 3. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it.
up against Incineroar, and once more, of course, Urshifu's
So,
gotta be there for Markus.
immediately out the gate, we can see two pretty standard fields, right? So on Marco's side, we have Urshifu Incin, which is really good. And on Kinugawa's side, we have Incin and Thunderous, okay? So when you have kind of the Incin plus damage dealer mirror, you really want to pay attention to whose Incineroar is faster. So we see the Intimidate go off with Marco's.
Once again, putting on pressure.
Which means, and that was second. So that means that Kinugawa's Incineroar is faster than Marco's Incin, or it's a speed tie. I don't remember if we saw the interaction between the two Incineroar before, but I'm fairly certain Kinugawa's Incin consistently outsped Marco's. So Marco already on a really, really bad
with those wild
foot.
Storms immediately.
Let's see if we can get a better.
So crucial whether or not you connect on the Urshifu.
Yeah, look
really
at the board state real quick. I want to see all four Pokemon.
Like the difference between hitting and missing is the difference between Urshifu getting attacks off, right? Because it feels like Urshifu is such a key Pokemon. I think for Kinugawa.
So let's look at this, right? So that's pretty good. So we have Incin, Incin, Thunderous. Okay. So because Kinugawa's Incineroar is faster, and there's no Clover Cloak anywhere, it's really, really safe for Kinugawa to go fake out into the opposing Incin and Wild Bolt Storm. And there's not really anything Marco can do about that, right? Because he's slower, if he goes for the fake out, we're fairly certain that Thunderous is faster than the Urshifu. This is really slow, bulky Urshifu, and Thunderous, my guess is has a decent amount of speed investment to outspeed it. I think it's already outsped it a couple of times in the set. Again, there's a lot of prior knowledge to this, but from what I remember, both of these mons are faster than their kind of field counterpart on the other side. So Kinugawa can really safely go for Fake Out and Wild Bolt Storm. Either pick up the Urshifu, get a lot of damage on it, get some damage on the Incin. From what we've seen so far with Marco's Incineroar, I'm personally fairly certain it's adamant offensive Incineroar with good defensive investment, but not much special defense investment. That would be my guess. The damage that it's dealt on some earlier turns and some earlier games to me screams adamant. So it's probably adamant 36 to hit the first bump, 244 HP, maybe a little speed, a little special defense, and then just a ton of the rest in physical defense would be my guess. But because of that, it can't really tank the Wild Bolt Storm as well as maybe you would want it to. So Marco immediately on a really, really big back foot here. He has to make a really hard call. So what can he do? He can go for Fake Out into Thunderous, trying to call the Fake Out into Urshifu, which would be kind of good. It's not terrible because then basically nothing happens that turn. And then the following turn, they're kind of in a semi-different board state because you can there's no threat of Fake Out. But at the same time, it's it doesn't really get Marco much ground at all. It doesn't really get Kinugawa much ground either. So Kinugawa's quote unquote optimal play here, if this was a game one against somebody they never played before, is simply Fake Out here, Wild Bolt Storm, hope to pick up the Urshifu. You could Terra Water, I guess, but that would be such a big Terra commit out the gate. So let's see what they opt to do.
You probably consistently try to play around the Poison Terra landers. It just feels like a really good win condition overall.
So you can see immediately that Marco is preparing for that kind of quote unquote optimal play, going Terra Ghost into Incineroar to cover for the Fake Out into it.
Try to whittle away and then bring it out later on in the battle.
Yeah, for sure.
And Kinugawa makes a call. He's calling basically that Marco is going to play defensively in some way. He can't risk the basically he cannot risk the just damage into Thunderous. It's far too pivotal.
Yeah, this time around Kinugawa does not want Incineroar, of course, to take any Surging Strikes. Will swap out into Rillaboom.
Yeah, so Markus said that. I don't necessarily think it's that, because again, with the speed interaction, it's fairly safe as long as Thunderous connects. Now, remember, Wild Bolt Storm, only 85% accurate, can miss, and I doubt that this is EV, but because you can look at the HP here, it's 193 HP, so this is a pretty bulky Shifu. It has a good chunk of HP investment in it, a lot, actually, now that I'm thinking, because it's base like 100 or 95 HP, I think it's base 100 HP. So that's like 100 something EVs of HP in there, and then you can see Incin is max HP right there.
Now let's see if Marco has called.
So basically, this play is really good because what he's doing is he knows that Marco cannot let Urshifu go down, right? Basically, Kinugawa is saying this Urshifu cannot get KO'd this turn for Marco. If Urshifu goes down, he basically loses the whole game. There's nothing. So Kinugawa says there's no way he's not going to play defensively with the Urshifu, whether it be a protect, whether it be a swap, something like that. Kinugawa is saying there's no way that this Urshifu stays vulnerable on the field this turn. He will not let me go for a fake out Wild Bolt Storm. So I think he's going to protect. So Kinugawa's going, I think he's going to protect Urshifu, do something else with Instant. So what I'm going to do is hard swap Instant into Rillaboom. So that way, the next turn, Urshifu only has a 30% chance to connect the protect. And I can pretty more safely go for the fake out plus Wild Bolt Storm. So that's why he's doing that. He's calling a protect on the Shifu.
Fake out and with the attack.
So Marco goes for Terra Ghost here to stop the fake out on Incin.
On Incineroar.
Yes. Because he does not want Incin to get faked out by the opposing Incin.
There's no fake out going into.
That's correct. Because remember, from the Intimidate interaction, Kinugawa's Incineroar was faster than Marco's. So again, that super safe play of just fake out Incin, Wild Bolt Storm is pretty good. Because even if, I guess, really, even if Thundurus goes down, like you still have Rilla in the back for Shifu. You technically have a Landorus still. Like you've got plenty of options there. So it's really, really safe play from Kinugawa. So that is the play that Marco is
Thundurus. Maybe
trying to call.
A double up.
And there's the protect that Kinugawa called.
All right, maybe.
Yep.
Then this is Marco saying, okay, well, I need to Terra my Incineroar.
And he misses the Wild Bolt Storm, which is very unlucky.
Another miss there
Yep.
by the Wild Bolt Storm. And just saying.
So there's the parting shot. So basically, remember, Marco's calling fake out Wild Bolt Storm. So he's going to stop that by protecting and parting shot out the Thundurus. What this does then, if Incin stays on the field, with Thundurus at -1, it's no longer threatening a KO on Urshifu with Wild Bolt Storm, because it's basically lost too much damage with how bulky the Urshifu is, right? So the next turn, if Incin stays on the field, he now has basically free reign to pick up whichever Surging Strikes KO he wants. Because I'm fairly certain we already saw that Surging Strikes with Mystic Water picks up the Thundurus. That's why I'm like, it's probably really fast Thundurus. Like probably hits like 151 or something like that to always outspeed Adamant Urshifu. Because nobody's running Jolly like right now. Like if you run Jolly, you're just giving up too much damage in my opinion. But yeah, so it's really, really interesting there, which is really a good play on Marco to call such a basic play. The only thing is that, I mean, Kinugawa has shown that he is not afraid to make reads like the entire set. And every match he's already done this. He's already done the pivot out on a fake out turn to call the protect to have a safe fake out the following turn. But again, we're in the mind games. So it's like at this point, right, they've played so many games against each other that basically Marco's going, okay, I know that he likes to play like this, but he knows that I know that he likes to play like this. So he might switch up how he plays because he knows that I know that he might do that, so he's not going to do that. That's when you get that really high level of Pokemon play. Those are the games you have to start playing. And it's like so interesting to think about, right? So basically Marco goes, okay, he has done that double pivot every single, like so many times before. He knows that I know that he's done that a lot of times. So I'm saying that he's not going to do it this time because I could call that, which is a play that he has pretty consistently made. And so either Kinugawa didn't think about that or he went, well, I know that he knows that I've done this and I've done it a lot of times. So he might call that I'm not going to do it. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and do it. And just get safely played on that turn. So really, really interesting kind of mental game in that position.
That, okay, I need Incineroar to Terra anyway against this Landorus later on.
And he did win game 2 with Terraring Incin, so he probably thought it was a safe Terra target.
I'll get the you will like fake out into it, and then I have a great spot into Incineroar next turn by bringing in Rillaboom.
Now, the Chen Pao swap was pretty good because now you're basically always threatening a KO on Thundurus. Now, there is like the Grassy Glide Wild Bolt Storm, and if Thundurus is... Well, no, because Thundurus is slower than... Okay, so this actually makes a lot of sense, right? So basically, Marco brings in Chen Pao, and he says, okay, here's the deal. I'm threatening a KO on both of your Pokemon, but what I'm probably most worried about is Thundurus. So if Rillaboom goes for Grassy Glide into Urshifu, it won't pick up because it's so bulky. And then Chien-Pao can freely Icicle Crash into Thundurus. And then pick up the KO, and then the Surging Strikes gets redirected. If Rillaboom fakes out Urshifu, then Chien-Pao gets the Icicle Crash into Thundurus and KOs it, right? If Rillaboom fakes out Chien-Pao, Chien-Pao doesn't attack. The Wild Bolt Storm at -1 goes off, shouldn't pick up any KOs, and can miss. Surging Strikes picks up Thundurus, as we've seen in previous games. So this is actually a really smart play from Marco because it covers for a lot of different options. And basically, the only punish, I guess, would be like Grassy Glide, Shifu, Icicle Crash, miss, Wild Bolt Storm connect, Shifu goes down. That would be the punish for that.
And yeah, if you switch in Rillaboom, then I can Parting Shot out and bring in Chien-Pao and have, an offensive threat like that.
It is interesting because I think like the Steel Terra we've seen committed on Urshifu previously. It's not the most important Terra here, especially because it actually opens up more weaknesses. The main thing that the Steel Terra helps again is both Rillaboom as well as.
And so you can see that he's thinking about that play. He's thinking like, okay, 90% of the time I pick up Thundurus this turn. You know what I mean? Like, because Icicle Crash can miss, unless you Terra Steel, but you have never Terra Steeled Thundurus yet. In all of the matches that Kinugawa has played during this event, never once did he Terra Steel Thundurus. He always saved Terra for Landorus. So basically, Marco can go, he's never Terra Steel this thing. He's not going to Terra Steel this thing. And if he does Terra Steel this thing to survive, he can only pick up 1 KO, and now he becomes weak to Incin in the back, right? All of a sudden, Incineroar becomes a much bigger threat to the Thundurus. And you can no longer KO out of your 4 times ice weakness against Chien-Pao, who in theory could stay alive. And you can no longer Terra out of your water weakness to Urshifu. So like really, really complex thinking here. But basically he's saying, I don't think you're going to Terra. Like that's just too much. That's too big of a commitment for this moment and will set you up for failure later in the match. So I think that 90% of the time I can pick up a KO.
Thundurus. But by going for Protect here, you ensure you're not going to take damage.
And he makes that play
initially. But
so yeah, there's the fake out on Chien-Pao.
Like how much damage can Chien-Pao and the Urshifu do?
Oh, wow.
There's the Wild Bolt Storm.
This time it hits.
It connects. See, nope, no KO.
Not quite any KO.
And there's the Surging Strikes.
That is a lot of chip damage. Yeah, that will definitely guarantee Sandsear Storm getting a double knockout. So yeah, if Kinugawa can set that up somehow, then this is huge, basically.
So yeah, so then that's the play, right? So now he's like guaranteed the KO on Thundurus. So no more Eerie Impulse, no more Thunder Wave, no more Wild Bolt Storms. We are good to go.
After how we saw game 2, how close it was, even after the double miss, now getting both hits in against Chien-Pao and Urshifu.
Yeah. So they're gonna get their healing up.
Gives me pause, Markus, is you said Sandsteer, and Sandsteer, it's just as inaccurate as Wild Bolt.
Oh yeah.
So
well.
One of the key questions is, do you want to commit?
So now Kinugawa is having to think about who he's going to bring out onto
the
the field.
Downside of going for Earth Power is if you target into a Protect, and then the other Pokemon gets a free attack into you, that could be a complete disaster. And I mean, Chien-Pao's damage output was actually quite significant, right? As we saw in the end of game 2, where Icicle Crash into.
Kinugawa was really thinking about it. I think it's important to note at this point, it's like 2:30 a.m. or 3 a.m. for Kinugawa in Japan, so he's also probably quite tired. I would be tired if I was up until 3 a.m.
Of course, about
anything. So Manda in Campo. Yep.
That being said, I think the Ghost Terra commit from.
So let's just go back a couple of seconds for a better look at the board state.
Right, as we saw in the end of game 2, where Icicle Crash into Ice Shard was actually enough to knock out even Poison Terra Landorus. And so, like, one of the things
normally Lando, it's also probably important to know that this Landorus is most likely very offensive. Like, we're looking like we're looking at like probably modest max special attack. So my guess, my guess would be like maybe max, like quite honestly, just from the damage ascend, that this is most likely a super offensive Landorus, not defensive at all.
Urshifu being able to Surging Strike your Incineroar.
Okay, so here's the board state, right? We have Chien-Pao and Urshifu both roughly about 50% with a full health Rillaboom and a full health Landorus, okay? Landorus has already been shown to be faster than Urshifu, but cannot be faster without Scarf than Chien-Pao, and we already know that it is slower because it has Life Orb, right? So there's quite a bit of that could go on here. So basically, Chien-Pao is threatening a KO onto Landorus as long as the Grassy Glide does not pick up Chien-Pao. We actually don't know if that's the case. It matters how offensive this Rillaboom is, and I don't know if we've actually seen Kinugawa on the side that you see the HP investment. So we can't know that for certain. At around 50%, it's going to be kind of hard to tell, actually. So what do you do here, right? You can swap out into Incin, which can now take an Earth Power because it's no longer a Fire type, although then the Shuca Berry would activate, so it would do basically the exact same amount of damage. You can go straight for the Icicle Crash into Landorus, calling that he's not going to protect. Or you can like double protect to scout for a protect. Like there's a bunch of options here, right? We know for certain that most likely Urshifu will go down to the Aqua Jet, to the Grassy Glide, because it's at like half. It is really, really bulky, but again, it depends on how much attack has been invested into the Rillaboom. That's kind of like the really big question, right? So Marco has quite a few plays here, right? Kinugawa on the other side can go, okay, well, he's obviously threatening a KO on my Landorus with Chien-Pao. Does the Grassy Glide KO Chien-Pao, right? The question, though, is like, this Chien-Pao does have Ice Shard. So does Ice Shard plus Aqua Jet, which will go before the Rillaboom, does that pick up my Landorus if I Terra? Probably not, right? Two neutral moves. Now, that would be, like, super powerful moves, but you kind of have to take the risk there. So that's kind of a pretty big question. You can go, if you like, okay, I want to save Landorus, right? You could go, like, protect Lando, Grassy Glide, Shifu, and then pick up the Shifu, and then Chien-Pao's attack into Landorus gets blocked by the protect. But if you go, if Marco calls that, and he goes protect Shifu, Icicle Crash into Rillaboom, and picks up the KO, then that's really bad. Or he could even do a middle ground play, right? And go for like Aqua Jet, Lando, Icicle Crash, Rillaboom. Lando goes down. Urshifu goes down, right? Lando still takes the Aqua Jet even if it protects. Rillaboom goes down to the Icicle Crash, right? Then the following turn, he gets a free swap back into Incineroar, where no longer can Kinugawa switch out, so he can go straight for the fake out into Landorus and Icicle Crash. Now, he would go into Incineroar, which then in theory could fake out into Chien-Pao. But we haven't revealed who's in the back, right? We've only seen Incin, Chien-Pao. No, but we saw Rilla. Is it Rilla or Bolt? I don't remember, but we'll find out. But basically, again, a lot of options. A lot of options here. They kind of have to call what the other person is going to do. If we're looking at Marco's side, I personally think the best play is Aqua Jet, Lando, Icicle Crash, Urshifu. I think that would be kind of the...
That being said, I think the Ghost Terra commit...
Because the only way Icicle Crash, Rillaboom, because basically the only way that Kinugawa can pick up 2 KOs here is going for Grassy Glide into Chien-Pao, picking up with the Glide, and then going Earth Power into Urshifu.
From earlier on, Marco's end now means that the Urshifu is threatened just so much more because you can't defensively tear at any point.
Yeah, but you can switch in Incineroar much easier into this Landorus, and I think, yeah, I guess Marco has identified that you need to have both both.
So he's really debating.
Be able to swap in Rillaboom, and then even if Kinugawa goes for the hard read again and gets the knockout,
Okay, so he's going for the hard swap into Rillaboom and protecting the Urshifu, right? So basically what Marco's saying is like, okay, the Earth Power into this slot is super safe. That's what I think you're going to do. So I'm going to swap into Rillaboom, which it theoretically just takes not very effective damage from both Wood Hammer and Earth Power. And you can only get, like, basically the ideal scenario is you double that slot with that, and then I take very little damage, and then I have Surging Strikes plus Fake Out online next turn.
still have another Pokemon that you can swap into these ground type moves. And I think, yeah, it's once more, it's one of those turns where you would want to go for a protect, switch into one of your fake outers, but
there's the Terra.
Kinugawa called it once more.
Okay, so Kinugawa's going for Terra Poison.
So consistent on this land. There is so few ways, of course, to...
Again, that makes sense because this covers for the double prio play of Ice Shard plus Aqua Jet.
Get punished from the opposing side. Really only that Rillaboom with high horsepower that threatens it. And we've seen
there's a protect on.
Bomb has done.
I should say that I do feel that Marco has played insanely defensively a lot of the games, not just against Kinugawa, but pretty much all of the tournaments. This is a kind of an interesting concept that I haven't talked about too much on the channel, but as I mentioned earlier in the video, Marco has a really bad matchup, right? Like this is like a super bad, like really hard matchup for Marco. In that instance, right? So when you have such a bad matchup into one of these teams, you can't play defensively. You have to like, I don't know how the best way to describe it, but basically what you have to do is you have to keep your opponent on their toes, because as the battle goes on and they're able to safely play out their lines, the likelihood of them winning gets higher and higher. When you have a bad matchup, you want to end the game as quickly as possible, which means that you want to make really hard calls and frankly, really risky plays. It's kind of what you have to do, right? So if it's like, okay, it's in this position where it's like, Urshifu is threatened by Thunderclap plus Surging Strikes, right? Or whatever. Thunderclap plus Fake Out, or Thunderclap plus Grassy Glide, or whatever, right? So it's so obvious that Urshifu is going to protect. But my matchup is so bad. My matchup is like so bad right now that I basically have to know that they know that my Urshifu is really, really threatened. So I obviously should protect. So I'm actually not going to protect my Urshifu because that the threat is so high that they're just not even going to consider the fact that I'm not going to do that right now, right? Those are the kinds of plays you have to make in these really, really bad matchups. So I do not think Marco is doing in this position. Not to say that Marco's bad or anything. Like, obviously, he's not. He's here and I'm not. But that is something you kind of have to consider in these types of matchups.
From this Pokemon throughout the course of the set.
Yep.
Grassy
Oh,
Glide
wow.
ends up going out.
So he goes for the Grassy Glide into Chenpao, trying to do the pick it up.
And it feels like Kinugawa's gotten every turn correctly. He decides to actually just play it safe here, go for the Sandsear Storm plus the Grass.
That still does a good amount too, by the way. That's an AV Rilla, not very effective attack. But yeah, so we kind of get back into the same thing, right?
And so it actually works out quite well for Marco.
So yeah, this is back. No, Kinugawa does not make a read here. He actually goes for the really safe play. And this again goes kind of back to that idea of mind games, right? So every single turn, Kinugawa, for all of the set, for a lot of the sets, he has made really hard reads, really aggressive plays, right? He's conditioned Marco to believe that he will make the hard plays. Like he will absolutely call you on what you're going to do. And so at this point, then he goes, okay, I have conditioned Marco to think that I'm going to do a strong, convoluted play. So he's not going to do the safe play of swapping out Rillaboom and protecting Urshifu. So I'm actually going to go ahead and make the safe play because that is different and deviates from the way that I have played every other game thus far in this tournament. And so his goal is that Marco will go, okay, he's obviously not going to go just for like Sandsear plus Grassy Glide. He's going to do some like fancy like pivot into like attack or pivot protect or something like that instead. So I'm actually not going to swap out here or do that. I'm just going to go straight for the damage. And then Marco did not do that. He instead went, I am going to continue to play safely. I am not going to deviate from kind of the game plan that I seem to have set at the beginning of the battle. So this is an instance where basically Kinugawa wrapped himself up on himself and kind of got into this position where Marco is kind of staying true to his course. Whether that's good or bad it's not particularly important and is up for debate, but that's just kind of what happened in this moment.
So where now he's gotten his Rillaboom in safely and can fake out this next turn.
Yeah, I think this was really important here for Marco to get this positioning, because now, yeah, we can see all of his Pokemon are
What did I do?
Getting lower and lower.
Sorry.
Whereas over on Kinugawa's side, well, Thundurus is already down, but both Landorus and Rillaboom are still healthy. And having a Pokemon like Landorus that has a move that is powerful and hits both targets, like that can very quickly just like wipe your board. if your Pokemon.
Yeah, so now Marco is thinking about it. Let's go back.
Getting this positional switch in and now threatening the Fake Out plus Surge goes for the hard read again and gets the knockout. You still have another Pokemon that you can swap into.
Yeah, so there's the Chien-Pao into...
Once more, it's one of those turns. See if Kinugawa.
On this lander is so high horsepower that threatens it on this Pokemon. And it feels for the Sansui and can fake out this next turn.
Yeah, I think this was really important here for Marco to get this positioning, because now, we can see all of his Pokemon are slowly, getting lower and lower.
But he's not dealing much damage back. So now we're at the point where Marco's in a really good straight.
Thundurus is already down, but both Landorus and Rillaboom are still healthy. And having a Pokemon like Landorus that has a move that is powerful and hits both targets, like that can very, very quickly just like wipe your board if your Pokemon gets...
So, okay, so this is the play that I don't quite understand for Marco. So he's going Fake Out into Landorus, swap into Incineroar, right? I see it. I see the line. So he's basically saying, okay, you are going to Woodhammer or Grassy Glide my Urshifu and protect your Landorus, right? To pick up the Shifu before the KO, before I can Surging Strikes into your Landorus. So he's calling that. So he's going to go for the Fake Out into Landorus to call an attack on Lando, and then hard swap into Incin to get the Intimidate on Rillaboom. So that way the next turn, if Landorus protects, then he can go pretty safely for Fake Out plus high horsepower. I see the vision. My issue with that is that I don't see a world where Landorus is ever incentivized to protect here, because of how much pressure Urshifu is exerting, right? I'm curious if it's ever actually just Fake Out Lando's Surging Strikes, right? So my thought process there is basically Chien-Pao is always threatening a KO on Lando after the Surging Strikes damage. But we have Incin in the back. So that's kind of the thing, right? He's like, I can't get rid of Urshifu because there is an Incineroar in the back that otherwise I really, really struggle to hit. He does have I didn't remember if he has Sacred Sword on Chien-Pao. I actually think he does. I don't think he has Sucker Punch. I think it's Crash, Sacred Sword, Ice Shard, Protect. So you can still hit the Incineroar, and you have high horsepower on Rillaboom. But yeah, so effectively he's like, okay, I really need to get rid of this Landorus, but I really need to keep my Urshifu safe. I'm curious with the bulk if the Grassy Glide actually picks up Shifu. I am inclined to say it doesn't, because not bulky Urshifu takes like around 50%, I think, from a Grassy Glide from offensive Rillaboom, because its natural defense is quite good. But they're going to know those calcs better than they will. But yeah, I am a bit skeptical of this play from Marco personally.
Plus Surging Strikes. Definitely something that Marco needed here.
Because he's just giving up. Because basically, in my opinion, at that turn, Marco has a ton of offensive momentum, right? Like, he could, like, call the Protect and just go, like, Fake Out U-turn into Rillaboom, go into Incineroar, and then Fake Out Surging Strikes into... No, he couldn't do that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still questioning the play a little bit.
You don't have to commit.
Yeah, and you could tell,
exactly. I think
even the casters right there are like, we don't quite understand why he made that play. Like, even the casters are like, we're not quite seeing that line there.
The threat.
Now, let's not forget, though, this has been a long tournament. They're like 4 hours in. You know, they've been playing against only like excellent players, you know, Wolfglick, Pokealex, Kinugawa, Marco, all of this stuff. Like, they're probably quite tired. So maybe Marco has a line in his brain that I am too smooth-brained to see. Totally possible. You know, absolutely a viable answer for what's going on here. But yeah, I can tell by the reaction too that they're also kind of like, you gave up a lot of offensive pressure there. We're not totally certain why.
Of Grassy Glide, you know, KOing Urshifu.
Yep. And again, there's the no protect, right? Because it's never incentivized to protect because Urshifu can break through it.
Scary here, and so ends up being the Incineroar to pivot in, but it's the Woodhammer coming out, and it does pretty meaningful damage, like you said, like.
And then he goes Woodhammer into Urshifu. So that's why I was like, fine. So that's the thing. Like, you're kind of scared about Urshifu going down, I guess. But like that happens, right? Then you just get your free swap into Chen Pao or Ensign. Then you can kind of take the game from there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just like kind of a bad position for Marco, and I don't think he made an aggressive enough play to kind of capitalize on the momentum he was gaining.
Nothing's getting knocked out right now, but everything is around hovering between like the 50-60% range. And crucially, like the Lander still has not really taken that much damage. It is vulnerable to like another fake out this next turn, and so.
But again, now all of a sudden, okay.
The Landers out potentially into Incineroar, but looks like Kinugawa, of course, could consider switching the other way around as well.
And this is really coming closer and closer.
I don't know why this is happening.
Down to the wire here. Marco has the Pokemon advantage, but Kinugawa still has this powerful Landorus.
And so this is the thing, right? Now all of a sudden it's enticed to. Yeah, so there's the instant, right? And now Lando can protect because there's no threat of breaking through the protect. So, I mean, if he's a real G right now, I guess he would just call the Lando protect and double pivot out on the instant slot. That would be what I would do.
Switching in Incineroar, very, very safe thing to do against Rillaboom and Incineroar. And
protect Lando.
Though,
yep.
Again, did Marco call this? And can he use this for repositioning? It's a high horsepower aimed at that Terra Poison Landorus. And then Incineroar,
parting shot.
For the parting shot.
Makes sense.
No matter kind of what happens, you will be able to kind of reposition, and then thanks to the Terra Ghost, you have a switch into Landorus this next turn.
It feels so tense, right? Like I feel like Landorus is just waiting to start getting the knock.
It's such a super close game too. Like Aaron's absolutely right, and so it's like, okay, I would probably actually honestly go into Chen Pao here, just to get additional grassy terrain recovery for Rillaboom later. But I think the terrain recovery is good on either Pokemon, honestly.
But it hasn't accomplished that yet, but we've seen just how quickly it can snowball.
But yeah, I think
games, and
Marco is just in a significantly worse position than he was if he had capitalized on the offensive momentum he had on that turn. By not doing that, it's just like, I think you had to give up Urshifu there and just like pick up a KO somewhere. Yeah, I don't know, dude.
So
it's a really tough place for Marco.
Trying to combine the fake outs and stop like the bleeding a little bit, but you also need to get damage off at some point, and it feels like the current board states haven't led to, say, a huge Surging Strikes getting off, right? Or a huge Icicle Crash or Sacred Sword, for example. So I think Marco's continuously hunting for an angle where he can finally get some damage off. But once again, I do think like Landorus being the naturally faster Pokemon among most of these makes it slightly tricky.
Yeah, what is very tricky as well, the fact that grassy terrain now is gone. Marco was at least enjoying a little bit of health recovery each turn. Now we'll have
So this position is pretty interesting. I mean, a pretty safe play is pivot into Incin and protect the Urshifu, but again, it's like Marco's done that so many times.
You can detect Urshifu and switch Rillaboom into Incineroar, but then once more, we've seen Kinugawa time and time again just call out these swaps. And so it seems like Marco's thinking about doing something differently this time. But it is the Sensor Storm and gets...
And again, so that's a mind game again. Marco goes, okay, well, I have protected every single turn, so I am going to not protect because he's going to call the fact that I will protect. And Kinugawa went, you're not going to protect. That's what he did. He went, this covers, because it's like, okay, so you could Sludge Bomb into the Rillaboom slot, right? But just swapping into Incineroar there kind of nullifies that, and then you're in a pretty bad position because of where you're at. So unless you go for like Parting Shot on the Rillaboom slot, I could see that. But so I actually think that Sear Storm was kind of his best play, because it's like, what else do I do? You know, it's like, I can't really play defensively here because then you can position yourself into a really good place. So I'm actually just going to go on the offensive and click it.
Urshifu, that is very, very big.
Yeah, absolutely huge. And one of the things as high horsepower, I mean, it does good damage, but I'm not sure
enough.
that's in KO range from, I mean, definitely not a Ice Shard.
No.
His parting shot comes out as well. Like, one of the key things is with Landers, you could lock into Earth Power, you could lock into Sludge Bomb, but Sandstorm Storm is kind of like a, hey, I can click this, and no matter what, I'm guaranteed to get damage off.
Yeah.
Right,
The main
correct.
thing there is, like, you have the ability to maybe knock out the Rillaboom, but, you know, knocking out an Urshifu is always a pretty big deal when you have an Incineroar.
A Rillaboom comes back in, and he continues to have Intimidate in the back for Marco's Rilla and for Marco's Incin, Rilla, and Chen Pao.
Kinugawa said it in the short interview before the finals. That is the one Pokemon that he was worried about. Now that is out.
And now Fake Out is back online, you know.
Now Chen Pao, it's so low, but it should be out of range of a Grassy Glide, especially with a switch in of Intimidate.
Well, here's the thing now, and now all of a sudden Marco is like, okay, well, I have to go back to playing defensive because now he's calling me to play offensively. But then the question is like, okay, but does he like understand that now you're scared and you're starting to fall behind, and so he knows that. I think in this position you rip it, like you're falling behind. The game is like quickly being pulled from your grasp. You have to make like a super hard call here. I think you have to be like, okay, well, he knows that I'm scared because he just called my offensive play. So he thinks I'm going to play defensively. So I'm actually just going to play offensively again and go straight for the, like, just rip the Icicle Crash or something like that.
And yeah, this game, if Marco wants to win this, it has to be carried by Chen Pao at this point.
Absolutely. Rillaboom here actually going to make the pivot out, but feels like Kinugawa has gotten the chip damage that he's needed on everything to...
Yeah, everything's so low.
As Intimidate, not super impactful, of course, on the Landers, but relevant for the Rillaboom. Chen Pao going for the Protect, making sure it doesn't faint to potential double up this turn like Fake Out, plus the Earth Power. Rillaboom ends up just targeting into the Chen Pao.
Okay, so yeah, Kinugawa calls it an offensive play.
Attack off here. And it is going to be the Poison
Terra Sludge Bomb.
The Incineroar. So, of course, it does resist that, but still takes
a lot of damage, yeah.
Especially, though, I think the Citrus Berry actually has been such a big item for the Incineroar throughout this run. Like, it continuously gets Incineroar.
Okay, but now we're in a position where it's like you still have Incin in the back, so like...
Healthier range, and so I think...
Like, Protect, Swap, Incin is really safe.
But this next turn, of course, you could just Protect Landers and then pivot Rillaboom out.
Yeah, that is one of those positions where had Incineroar not gone for the Terra Ghost, then it might have just gone down to the Sludge Bomb on the switch in.
I think you call that and you just go for the... I don't think that's what you do, dude. I think you have to rip it. I think you just go like
into this now. It's
Sacred
Marco
Sword, Parting Shot, Rilla. I think that's what you do.
Is this the moment where you make a read and just go?
I think you have to.
just, like Parting Shot and Ice
yeah,
Crash?
This is a really good play from Kinugawa, right? So
like it, right?
So basically, Marco's calling Kinugawa to go Protect Grassy Glide into Chen Pao. Or like Woodhammer or something, I don't know. But what Kinugawa is basically saying is like, okay, the attack into the Rillaboom slot is insanely safe, right? Like it's a super safe play. So I'm actually going to, and the Protect on this slot is kind of obvious. Now you might call that I'm not going to Protect and go for a, like, because I'm at -1, the Grassy Glide actually won't pick up the Chen Pao now. So you're going to go for the Icicle Crash into this slot. And so I can just swap into Incin, eat that like super duper well, and kind of take the game from there. And then I have Fake Out online the following turn, yada, 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 a bunch of stuff. So what he said is like, okay, I'm actually not even going to Protect this slot. I'm going to bring in Incin on the Lando slot. And what that does is like if you Icicle Crash my Lander slot, you're at -1. I really don't take that much. I have a lot of momentum going into the other turn. If you Icicle Crash, the worst case scenario is Fake Out Icicle Crash into Rillaboom. With the Intimidate, I have the defensive bulk that I will live the Icicle Crash and can do whatever I opted to do. So that's kind of the play that Kinugawa was looking at.
So we'll see. Because the obvious play, once again, is you just Protect Landry, switch it Incineroar. So Kinugawa going for it again. It's going to be Fake Out this time onto the Rillaboom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, Icicle Crash into Rillaboom as well. So once again, Landers...
And he lives.
Had it just gone for a Sandstorm Storm there or Protect switch into Incin, I think both would have worked
and he
out
flinches.
well, but this ends up being the best possible outcome for Marco. Like,
yeah.
Super hard read, right?
So that was a really good play, right? So like Marco's like, okay, I'm going to make this like super aggressive play. This covers for effectively most of what you want to do. I'm always going to get this damage off. And then he has, Rilla in the back, so... Yeah, it's still a bad position for Marco, but that is the first way he's going to get himself back in the game.
Yeah, but it works out once again, and now, once again, we got the Terra Ghost on Incin. You can maybe use that, swap out Xian Pao, and go for Parting Shot, or you can hard switch into Rillaboom and Protect. I guess either of those options, you will have...
Like, you want Fake Out back online if you're Marco, and Intimidate.
After the Rillaboom slot. And, I mean...
So my question here is, right, like, so Marco goes for the Protect. I'm ever curious if it's simply swap into Rillaboom, because you need Chen Pao for Landorus, right? Like, it is the way that you beat Landorus in an endgame because it's faster. That's really, really important. So the Protect... Chen Pao and like doing something like Incin's not threatened by Fake Out because it's a ghost type. Yeah, it's really interesting. That's a really tough moment because so basically Marco can go, okay, well, again, the Protect on Chen Pao is so obvious because it is so pivotal to me keeping like winning against Lando in the end game that I'm not gonna Protect. Like the Protect is so clear and obvious. But he's been playing in a way that's safer, so he'll actually go for the Fake Out now. So I'm gonna actually go for the Protect kind of thing. Like again, those like that, like he knows that I know that he knows mind game kind of stuff, and so he's going for the hard swap on Incin. That one, I guess you could go like Woodhammer knockoff into Incineroar, but and that won't pick up Rillaboom. I guess like Rillaboom's at like 50%, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah,
Kinugawa needs like another round of Intimidate on this Xian Pao so that Landorus can take Icicle Crash. But yeah, Marco is making this so difficult.
Yeah, it felt like Kinugawa had such a big advantage.
In theory, too, something else you should be looking at is it possible for Chen Pao to get its sash intact from Grassy Terrain Recovery?
It kind of brings Marco back into it. And the other thing is like Kinugawa theoretically could be attacking offensively with the Incineroar, right? It has Flare Blitz, it has knockoff, but he's opted not to do that. And what another play by Marco. It feels like he is
so again
on for tournament like
we're back into that moment of like, okay, well, he has conditioned me to think that he's going to play offensively. So I am going to play offensively to cover for that. And now basically Kinugawa has flipped the script, which is a really, really good thing to do. He's like, I have conditioned Marco to think I'm going to play like X. I am now going to play like Y and like mix him up. So he's going to try to cover for the way that I play in X mode, but now I'm in Y mode and it doesn't work that way kind of thing. So it makes a lot of sense. Or we're getting to a point where Kinugawa feels really, really safe in this endgame. He's like, I am going to win. I just can't take any unnecessary risks. Like I must do just kind of the safe basic plays in order to get through the rest of this game.
He wants to be the champion so bad, and he is fighting his heart out right now. A double up into the Chen Pao.
Really, really like deep game.
Yeah, once again, Marco getting those turns right, and now Kinugawa is stuck with Incin and Rillaboom on the field, so this can be Fake Out into Incin and Icicle Crash into Rillaboom.
Yeah,
and
which is pretty safe.
There's not a lot that Kinugawa can do about this. Now, I guess the threat, though, would be for Incin to switch out into Landorus to reposition and to get in that another crucial round of Intimidate.
Yeah, the big thing is he really needs damage on Incin.
Kind of punish that switch, or if he wants to go for the safe play of going for Fake Out and Icicle Crash into Rillaboom. And no switch from Incineroar.
Wow.
Yeah,
no
okay. So super safe play there.
Able to eliminate the Rillaboom as well.
My thing there is like you're going to deal a bunch of damage to Lando even if it swaps in. So it's like that's a pretty safe play for Marco.
Like, Marcus, if you asked me a few turns ago, I would say that the game was over and I thought Kinugawa had it, but I
know it's so back and forth. It's so back and forth.
3 turns in a row. And now is in this position where you could also pivot out the Chen Pao.
Because basically we're at a point now where Marco is going, okay, he thinks that I'm going to play this because he's played this way, but I'm not going to do it. Actually, I'm still going to do this. And he's not now transitioning to the way that I'm playing fast enough. And I'm kind of getting myself back into the game. It's very, very interesting.
Oh, it's so close.
Yeah, and Kinugawa down.
It's still scary. You still have to deal with Incineroar, though, right? Like, Incineroar's damage is
Incin's like still a huge problem, right?
Flare Blitz and knockoff.
Yeah, and we could be in the kind of exact same spot, but with another round of Intimidate on Marco's Mons had...
Out the gate, like as a balance player, I want to hard swap Incin. I want to parting shot with Incin and hard swap. Wait, he has Rilla. Oh, he can't do that. Ooh, yeah, he doesn't have U-turn on Rilla. That makes this a lot harder. Yeah, I don't quite know the best play here.
Swapped out.
That's why I like U-turn Rilla so much.
Now,
but like the Earth Power is like so safe.
Again on the Landorus, I think it should survive Icicle Crash.
I'm curious if you ever just like sack Rilla here, go high horsepower Ensign to get the chip. It's Shuckaberry though, isn't it? Yeah, it's Shuckaberry Ensign, so it's not gonna. Yeah, this is that item specifically makes this really hard for Marco.
If you can swap out Gen Power, reset the attack stat, and kind of make it through this turn without losing too much.
Yeah, so there's the Ensign, but the Earth Power on this slot is like super safe.
By Earth Power Flare Blitz. Let's see though.
Oh, let's see. It's so tense.
Yeah, bonk, and that'll KO for sure.
Okay, Sludge Bomb getting the knockout on Rillaboom.
So this makes the most amount of sense for Marco, right? So basically he's saying, okay, you can pick up Rillaboom with the Sludge Bomb, right? But then you have an intimidated Incineroar on the field that can't KO my Incineroar. So I get Fake Out and an unintimidated Chien-Pao back on the field. So then the following turn, because you've already Terra'd, I can go for Fake Out plus Sacred Sword into Incineroar and pick up the KO. The problem is he's like, no damage on Ensign, dude. And it's like the single non-stab Sacred Sword isn't going to pick up Ensign if it has like any form of significant defensive investment.
Okay, this time it is the Flare Blitz.
Yeah. So we'll get the Citrus proc.
A little bit of recoil, but...
No Citrus proc.
Chien-Pao now at neutral. Does it come down to like a call this turn where you target? Like you can Fake Out.
Yeah,
in my opinion, you always double attack with.
And then it's either Sacred Sword or Icicle Crash.
Yep.
You always double attack if you're Kinugawa, right? Like you always go for Earth Power.
If it's like a true
and knockoff.
If there's a reason to go for something else.
I mean, if you Icicle Crash, into the Protect, like do you like? You could still go for
it. Might still be okay.
Next turn.
Well, the problem is how do you do enough damage to Incineroar?
Yeah, then it's Flare Blitz and Knockoff, I guess.
Yeah, that's
kind of... Knockoff is not gonna KO Marco's Ensign, but yeah. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, here's the play, right? He's going
into Ensign, and then
Icicle Crash.
One move from Chien-Pao. Is it gonna be Sacred Sword into Incineroar? What will Kinugawa do? Protect or attack with this Landorus? This is what it is coming down to here in Game 3 of the Grand Final.
Yeah, it's like a totally a 50-50 call right now.
So tense. And then the other thing is, if you attack with Landorus, do you just click Sanseer Storm, being like, I can win the game on the spot?
Yeah.
And open yourself up to
I think you...
So, yeah, the board state here, really, really interesting, right? So basically, we have Chien-Pao Ensign versus Landorus Ensign. We have Fake Out Online with... the Incineroar on Marco's side, so you can actually Fake Out either Pokemon here, and then you're threatening damage with Chien-Pao. Am I wrong? Does Chien-Pao has Sacred Sword, right?
Okay, Sludge Bomb getting the... Well, a little bit of recoil, but even though Chien-Pao now at neutral...
Yeah, it's right there, Sacred Sword.
Does it come down
He's really thinking about it.
Into the Protect, like...
Right, okay, so this is basically the board state, right? So you have Chien-Pao Ensign versus Ensign here, the Landorus, right? So this is where it gets really, really finicky, dude. So this is like a really, really complex board state, which I find incredibly interesting, right? So you basically have Fake Out Online with Marco's Ensign. So you can Fake Out either slot, and you're threatening a super effective Sacred Sword into Incineroar, or you're an Icicle Crash into Landorus, which could pick up the KO. On Kinugawa's side, he's like, okay, well, if I protect Lando and go Flare Blitz into, and like try to Flare Blitz the Chien-Pao, if he goes Fake Out a Sacred Sword Ensign, that's really bad, because now he can pretty safely go for Icicle Crash the following turn into Landorus, and then Ensign will probably go down because it'll have dealt too much recoil to itself with Flare Blitz. The other option is it's like, okay, well, I'm going to not protect Lando because I lose if you do that. And then Marco goes, okay, well, you're actually not going to protect Lando because if I make that play, you lose. So I'm going to go Icicle Crash Fake Out. Like Icicle Crash Fake Out into Ensign would win him the game there. The last thing is, because Ensign's also at -1, don't forget that. So to KO Chien-Pao, though, he would have to use Flare Blitz, which would deal a decent amount of recoil because Chien-Pao is relatively healthy, right? Or he could go, okay, well, Instant, you can never ignore the Incineroar here, right? Like, Instant has too much health against these two to actually win the game, to actually lose the game at its current health level. So I think basically is a 50-50 call for Marco. He must either fake out Instant Icicle Crash or fake out Instant Sacred Sword. Those are the two plays that he has to do that can win him the game. And that is the 50-50. That's what we call 50-50. It's like literally like you just have to get the call right. And you can utilize like the way your opponent has played before. But at that time, like there's some luck in there. Like you have to, it's really, really intense. And it's the exact opposite for Kinugawa. So Kinugawa can go, okay, well, I can protect Lando here, but if you double the instant, I lose. But if I don't protect Lando and you go for the Icicle Crash, I lose. And so what Marco is doing is a different play. He's trying to basically avoid the 50-50.
Okay. Well, the problem is how do you do enough damage to Incineroar?
Yeah, then it's Flare Blitz and Knockoff, I guess. Oh, but Knockoff is not going to KO Marco's.
Yeah. So he's saying that you're not going to protect Landorus. Okay. That's the call. He says you're going to attack with Landorus.
Is it going to be Sacred Sword into Incineroar? What will Kinugawa do? Protect or attack with this Landorus? This is what it is coming down to here.
My guess here is that they're afraid that the people, like the competitors, can actually hear what, because they can obviously see what Marco has clicked. I think they might be afraid that maybe the competitors can hear what they're saying, so they're trying not to reveal what has already been clicked by one of the players.
Game 3 of the Grand Finals.
This is so tense. And then the other thing is, if you attack with Landorus, do you just click Sandstorm Storm, being like, I can win the game on the spot?
Yeah. If you're calling that, you could win the game on the spot.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness! It all comes down to it. Let's see what happens.
And Landorus protects. Okay, so this. And I understand why Marco made that play, right? It gives him, so like even if he gets the play wrong, he still has a chance the following turn, right? That's like really, really important.
It's going to be the fake out into the Incin. And well, if you paid attention, you already know it. But it is the Icicle Crash into Landorus.
Yep. Okay.
So
let's go back just a second. So now we're back into a new board state, right? This is so complex, right? So you have Incin Chen Pao versus Incin Landorus, right? So Landorus just protected, so the Icicle Crash into Landorus 90% of the time gets him in a really good spot. But Marco's Incin does not have great damage into the opposing Incineroar with only Knockoff and Flare Blitz, and he has Terra Ghosted his Incin. So even without an item, though, Knockoff is going to do pretty significant damage. And if you go for Flare Blitz on Marco's side, you're going to continue to chip yourself with recoil and not do that much to Incin. Now, their Incineroar is -1, which is kind of in your favor. But basically, if it comes down to an Incin 1v1 endgame, it is in Kinugawa's favor, not Marco's favor, because in theory, Kinugawa can sack Lando, go for the Flare Blitz, and then just anticipate that his Incineroar is going to win the 1v1. And that's kind of the best play. Kinugawa can also, in theory, go for a double protect here, which in my opinion is a pretty good play. Actually, no, it's not, because you're so clear, it's certain that your Incin can live, like basically win you the end game in the Incin v Incin one-on-one. You probably always want to attack with Landorus here, just in case either Icicle Crash misses or you get like really lucky, like, you know what I mean? Like, or you live for some reason, like there's some options here. And at the same time, Marco makes a play that I'm not currently discussing, right? And so Marco's like, okay, well, I lose the end game if it comes down to 1v1 via Incin. So what Marco actually opts to do...
So, well, what we're saying is Icicle Crash into Landorus, knock it out, then Flare Blitz knocks out Qianpao, and then it's a 1v1 Incineroar versus Incineroar. Yep. And because Marco has terrestrialized into Ghost, Kinugawa can get super effective hits.
So right there, Marco is considering if Kinugawa is maybe going to go for the double protect and just ignoring the slot.
I guess that's it though. The other option though, Sacred Sword? No, Incin is not going to knock out Landorus.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so he's calling. So basically, what Marco, and this is a very interesting play. So Marco is calling the double protect attempt on Landorus. So he's saying, okay, your optimal play here is to go for the double because you believe that if Landorus wins, you guarantee win the game, but you can probably win the game in the Incin 1v1. So what Marco says is he's like, okay, I'm actually going to take out Incineroar. which is a pretty good read from him, actually. I do think this is probably his best play. I'm going to take out Ensign with Sacred Sword because you're low enough now, and I'm neutral. And then you're going to fail. If you get the double protect, I still have Chen Pao, and I win the game. If you fail the double protect, I get the Flare Blitz off into Landorus, and then I don't need to risk the Icicle Crash miss the following turn. I can just go for Ice Shard or Sacred Sword. And that's kind of what he's saying.
You have to Icicle Crash here.
I don't agree. If you think Kinugawa is going to go for the attempted double protect, this is the play to make.
Seems like maybe Marco has other plans.
Oh, he goes for the... yeah, that. Hang on.
Wow.
Yeah. I still think that was the best play from Kinugawa. So he actually doesn't go for the attack. He goes for the protect, right? Yeah. So his thought process there was, okay, if you're going to go for the double protect on Landorus, I can protect Chen Pao to stop the Flare Blitz into Chen Pao. And if you fail the double protect, get a bunch of damage into Lando with the Flare Blitz. If you get the double protect, right? Let's say it's like you go for the double and you get it. Now I can even more safely go for Icicle Crash because the chances of you getting a triple protect are 1 in 9 instead of 1 in 3. It's far, far, far worse of a chance. In my entire time of playing Pokemon, I have only ever achieved 1 triple protect. I've been playing Pokemon a lot, played a long time. And so that's basically the call he's making. So he's trying to save Chen because he understands that Chen Pao is the end game. I still think Kinugawa made the best play possible because basically to Kinugawa's point, Kinugawa goes, I will win the game if we get to the Ensign v Ensign one-on-one end game, right? It's like if it comes down to my Ensign versus your Ensign, I win the game. So if basically you target Lando and I take out your Chen Pao with my Ensign, I will win. You can miss. So I, in theory, should always, because my Ensign will also beat your Chen Pao in this moment, I am actually just going to go for the Earth Power into Incineroar and then Flare Blitz into Chen Pao to try to pick up the match. And then with 2 Pokemon left, there's just no way he can win.
And he calls it again.
That wasn't a call. I don't think that was a call. That was just a like, this grants me the most opportunities to win the match. You know what I mean? It's like it's not a hard call. He's not calling the Chen Pao protect. He's going. Basically, it's like whenever I play Dozo, you know what I mean? And I'm like, sometimes I click the double protect because there's just nothing better to click. He did not have anything better to click than Earth Power into Instant there. He was like, if I get this Earth Power off, I win the game right now. I win. We're done. There's no way Chen Pao can come back from this 1v2. If I don't get it off, I still get the Flare Blitz into your Chen Pao, pick up the KO, and my Incineroar wins in the 1v1 endgame. That is what they were thinking.
Power knocking out Incineroar, I guess covering for the Icicle Crash miss.
Bingo.
And then there should be Flare Blitz into the Chen Pao.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like Marco was like, okay, well, I got the 50-50 wrong. Now I gotta hope for like a misplay from my opponent because even if I land this Icicle Crash, I will lose the 1v1 with Instant against Instant in the long run. But wow, time and time again, Kinugawa.
I am available for hire, Pokemon casters. I am available for hire.
And yeah, this battle has been going on for so long. The timer now coming out.
The timer. Yeah, that's why it's like I only am doing one game. I'm only doing one game. All of these games are so intense.
Kinugawa has
just
done it.
That does pick up.
Incineroar goes down, and the star of the show.
And you just have to hope that you live the Earth Power, basically,
Landorus
which he's not going to.
Final blow. There it is, Earth Power. Chen Pao goes down, and Kinugawa is the Winter Invitational champion.
Yes. Really, really intense game. Really, really intense set. I just spent basically an hour on one game. Not even the whole set. One game in the set. It is such an intense, interesting board state the entire time. They both play insanely well. They both get a lot of calls right and wrong. It is so, so, so cool. This is how high-level Pokemon play works. You're playing the player. You're not playing the team. Really, really interesting. So I really wanted to talk about that today. It's a lot of information, so I hope you saw some value in this. If you like this kind of content, you want me to review battles like this more, I really enjoy doing it. It's very, very fun. I love kind of this kind of stuff. So let me know down in the comments below, and please make sure to subscribe. I won't hold up your time too much more. This video is a little longer than I'd anticipated it to be, but overall, thank you all so much for watching. Really, really great matches to everybody involved in that tournament. when I was in the Twitch chat for a little bit, with Wolfie, I think it was Wolfie v Marco. I think it was Marco. Wolf had like a really niche win con. And I made that comment in the Twitch chat. I was like, actually, Wolfie could still win this. Basically, it was his Glamora versus. First of all, Wolfie definitely had a team he was not that comfortable with, and that's okay. That happens. But it was like Glim versus Chen Pao plus Incineroar, and so I was like, okay, well, what he has to do is he has to go for he has Power Herb, Meteor Beam, Glim, and I was like, he has to go for the Meteor Beam into Chen Pao, and then hope that the Chen Pao gets a low roll. And then Incin's knockoff doesn't KO from the reduced damage of not having an item. And he did not get that win con, unfortunately. It did not happen in that way. The knockoff did pick up. But I was like, he played to the exact out, and I got clowned on in the chat. And I was like, only losers quit. I'm so sorry. But like, play to your outs in Pokemon. I think that's really, really important. I wanted to just share that little bit of story. Always play to your outs. You never know what's going to happen. But really great games to everybody involved. Thank you so much to Markus for hosting this. It was really, really cool to watch. I'm excited to see more of them in the future. I think this is a really fantastic way to get a little bit more Pokemon content out there. But thank you all so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe. But most importantly, please remember that you are appreciated. All right. Peace.